Assalamu alaikum, folks. I hope you are doing well. The Iris Energy earnings is actually just going on right now. And by the way, today is Wednesday, May 14th. And so I've been, trying to get you my reaction to it as soon as possible. So far, the market's reaction to it has been relatively positive, up 3% after hours. We're going to go through their investor presentation. I think largely this was a positive update, and I do think there is a mispricing going on uh, in relation to Iris Energy that may actually correct itself in the near term. So let's talk about that. So this company is so far ahead of its time; they're actually reporting Q3 of 2025. And the highlights here, Q3 highlights that is consecutive quarters of profit after tax, which is something that not many Bitcoin miners can claim. Bitcoin mining is a very tough industry and it only gets tougher the more efficient the ASICs become, the mining equipment that is, and the more players enter the field. And so basically, if you're turning a profit after tax, then you're in the elite. And so this is a big statement for Iris Energy, yet another quarter of profit. Record revenue of close to 150 million. Keep in mind, this is a market cap that is less than 2 billion, uh, right at 1.78 billion. And so if we were to annualize this revenue, we're talking about 600 million trading at 1.7 billion. That's pretty good multiple there. Uh, Record adjusted EBITDA 83 million. Profit after tax 24 million. Not that impressive, but again, Bitcoin mining is a really tough business, and so if you're able to be above water, you're an elite operator. And I say this, and why this is very relevant is because Iris Energy is basically a business that is pivoting from Bitcoin mining to AI and high performance computing. Because Bitcoin mining, as I said, is a very tough business to be in, and there are better margins to be had in high performance computing. And so, what this tells us here is that management really executes at a very high level. And so, this gives me confidence in their ability to pivot. They mentioned, I think, close to a year ago, that they would get to 50 exahash install capacity by June 30th. And that is still the target. So they're on target to reach 50 exahash by June 30th. Revenue is increasing for their AI cloud business. It's still a very small portion of their business, but it is increasing. It's headed in the right direction. And they have a massive build out of AI data centers that are looking for partners. And I think they will have partners just because of the scarcity and demand, uh, the scarcity of energized data centers and the high demand for them. And so that continues apace, which is great. Looking at the comps, they're very good. So when you look at revenue, even quarter versus quarter, so in terms of the previous quarter, we had close to 120 million. Now we have close to 150 million in revenue. Adjusted EBITDA, Charlie Munger used to call them bullshit earnings. So we'll skip over the EBITDA, especially the adjusted EBITDA. But the profit after tax grew close to 30% from 18.9 million to 24.2 million, which 30%, I mean, that is when you're quarters, we're not talking year over year, we're talking from one quarter to the next, growing profit at 30% is very healthy. Um, and that, sorry. Oh, that's the earnings call concluding. Shout out to Iris Energy for their choice of. Shout out to Iris Energy. Sorry, I had another window that had their earnings call going. So that's the tune that they chose, I guess. They really are Texans. All right. So if you look at their now, this is probably the most impressive stat that they have here, and it's impressive if you're familiar with other Bitcoin miner costs. The all-in cost per Bitcoin mined for Iris Energy is at 41,000 versus the revenue that they're able to generate is 93,000. That's great. That's better than CleanSpark. It's certainly better than something like Marathon Digital. So they're basically best in class. And again, this speaks to the quality of management. And really, the most important asset any company has is their human capital. And so this is, what you can hang your hat on. Okay, they're moving from Bitcoin mining to something else. Are they going to be successful? Well, when you look at the job they did in Bitcoin mining, it was quite impressive. They're actually, I think, one of the best, if not the best, out there. So installed capacity currently is 40 exahash. By the way, this exahash capacity more than tripled in the last year, which is very impressive. If you look at now, uh, if you'll humor me here, and I just got done, calling it bullshit earnings, but if you look at the EBITDA that is estimated for 50 at 50 exahash on June 30th, the earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation, and amortization. If you look at that, that's around 588 million. Now, historically speaking, if we look at what do Bitcoin miners trade for, well, I will pull this up because I asked Grok before I went live. So Bitcoin mining companies like Marathon Digital, Riot Platforms have historically traded at EBITDA multiples ranging from 5x to 15x. So in bear markets, closer to the 5x. In bull markets, closer to 15x. The EBITDA number. This is what historically they've traded at. So I'm not talking about, okay, this is what you should use. You should use EBITDA. I'm not saying that, but I'm saying historically, these are the multiples that they've traded at, between 5x and 15x of EBITDA. Now, if we look here at the EBITDA that is expected at 50 exahash on June 30th, close to 600 million, and this assuming a $95,000 price for Bitcoin. We're now above 100. Who knows how high we go? But assuming a 95,000 price for Bitcoin, and I expect we'll go a lot higher. At 600 million EBITDA, if you do a 5x to that, which is the bearish assumption, again, we said 5 to 15x. So if you do a 5x of the 600 million, we're at 3 billion. If you do a 15x, we're at 9 billion. So right now, as I said, we're trading at 1.78 billion. So I said in a previous live, I thought Iris Energy could get to 5 billion. I was pretty confident that we could get there in short order. And so this kind of confirms that. Like if we're talking historically speaking, looking at Bitcoin miners, what multiples they're trading at, and using these assumptions, which we're on track for 50 exahash by June 30th, it does seem like Bitcoin is going to go way higher than 95,000. Using these assumptions, that seems like a pretty sandbagged prediction. So that's why I named this live mispricing, because I think we could do really well here. Now, I'm not saying that this is something that you necessarily need to back up the truck on. We have a position. It's a full position. We've already made a bunch of money on this stock, and we've taken profits a number of times. And maybe the next time around, we'll see. I'm really waiting for it to do something like what CoreWeave has, where they have an agreement with Microsoft that provides most of their revenue. They're backed by NVIDIA. If they can get one of those big hyperscalers on board with what they're doing, and they'll need it in order to finish some of their locations, then this thing could go way higher. But we keep hearing about negotiations. The CEO mentioned negotiations in the earnings call that I was listening to before this live. He was talking about ongoing negotiations, with multiple parties. So we'll see if this actually crosses the finish line. If it does, obviously that would be a catalyst. All right, so the Iron Cloud, proven AI infrastructure, 75 million NVIDIA GPU cluster. They started in 2023. Now they've scaled it to close to 1900 H100s and H200s, which is really nothing. It's very small in scale compared to what's being used right now. GPUs installed at Iron's 50 megawatt Prince George data center. This is important. So they had a seamless transition from the ASIC miners to the GPUs, and this is what they expect on a larger scale for their business, or at least new capacity will be dedicated towards GPUs. And so, and there was minimal capex. So if you're worried about dilution, hopefully that's in check. This is always something that's top of mind when you're investing in Bitcoin miners, because it is very capital intensive. They did mention on the earnings call multiple times that they were basically going to think about dilution last, which is always reassuring. And there is some alignment of interests here, because there is a healthy amount of insider ownership for this company. And something, I mean, if I can find it, but something actually very big is that in about 30 to 60 days, Iris Energy is going to be a U.S. domestic issuer, which is as a company, and it's going to be classified as such, and therefore a lot of ETFs that can't, and a lot of funds that can't invest in non-U.S. Issuers are going to be able to invest in Iris Energy. So that could be a big catalyst for this stock. So again, here I'm seeing the near term as being, inshallah, very bright. And so they mentioned here some highlights about their high performance computing business. Again, 33% revenue growth quarter over quarter, 97% hardware profit margin. That's really where that's really the reason for the switch to this different business line. And it makes all the sense in the world. I think AI infrastructure is going to be in really hot demand for the foreseeable future. And so I think it makes sense for Iris Energy to go into this business that has much higher profit margins than Bitcoin mining does. All right, so here they're laying the case for why AI infrastructure demand is increasing. They think it's going to forecast for global AI users is going to 3x in 5 years. Forecast for global AI data center demand 3.5x in 5 years. So that's a good business to be in. They have large-scale sites in emerging AI hubs. I would note Texas being, at the center of AI activity in the United States. And so their location is a very fortunate one. And they did mention there is a scarcity of liquid-cooled AI data centers. That's something that's kind of a feather that they'd like to advertise, that's in their hat. Very few other providers of liquid cooling. And that's what they're going to have in their Horizon 1. And it's going to be catered to liquid cool NVIDIA Blackwell and the versions that come beyond that. And so they have really promising infrastructure in place to start printing money from this AI data center demand. And I did want to point out sort of I think the most interesting, as an investor, the most interesting slide was the following. So up to 250 million expected net funding requirement during 2025 for expansion to 50 exahash. Keep in mind they are generating cash, and they're also sitting on around 180 million in cash. So that should cover expansion to 50 exahash, completion of Horizon 1 Sweetwater substation and development work. Sorry, combination of balance sheet, so 160 million cash as of April 30th, and cash flows from Bitcoin mining and AI cloud services support near-term growth capex. So that's good. Again, if you're worried about dilution. So here they have the assumption for 95,000 Bitcoin price, 616 million is their EBITDA assumption. Now, assuming the network increases in difficulty, and let's say we have 150,000 average price for Bitcoin, then you're looking at EBITDA of close to $1 billion. Again, this is a company that is trading at 1.78 billion. So I think there's some margin here, margin of safety here in terms of the share price, the market cap really, and what it's being valued at right now. Again, the market seems to like the update. But at least it is positive after hours. I do think that this is something that could perform well here, especially with the catalyst of a hyperscaler inking a deal with Iris Energy. And then kind of have the Tesla-like awakening that I suspect, wherein people start to realize, oh, this isn't this type of company, it's some other more profitable type of company. In the case of Tesla, this is not an automobile manufacturer, this is a AI and robotics with a lot healthier profit margin company. And in the case of Iris Energy, people are going to start looking at it as more than just a Bitcoin miner. This is something that has the attributes of something like a CoreWeave, and maybe we should be pricing it differently with different multiples, more generous multiples, because its profit margin is better. So with that being said, let's go to questions. Sorry, my presentation, I guess, was not as polished as perhaps though if I had more time to prepare, but I just wanted to get to you guys my instant reaction to their earnings, so you know what I think, because I've spoken about this stock many times on this channel before. All right, we're not going through our list of watch list companies right now, but salam to you, Muhammad. Salam, Rashad. Nice to see you. BTC miners. Different money, but we like it. Salam Zuhair, nice to see you. Salam Pakhtun, nice to see you. Are we in a bull market? Yeah, I do think so. Watch my live yesterday. I kind of go over why I think that is. Yeah, like the live, guys. Really appreciate it. Thanks, Rashad. Salam Hafiz, nice to see you. I'm definitely won't tell you what you should invest in. These are just my opinions, and you can do with them what you want. Salam, brother. The transition to data centers requires intensive capital. CoreWeave just borrowed 1.5 billion on top of the 8 billion already gave. Any thoughts if Iron will need? I'm assuming you're going to ask if they're going to have to follow the same path. Yeah, I don't know. I think that what it definitely needs, and certainly the CEO alluded to this, was a partner. And so it's possible that they have some arrangement where, the partner, the hyperscaler, provides, a lot of the financing that they need. And so we'll see how that shapes up. I think that once there is a partner and, a customer that can really take advantage of what Iris Energy has set up right now in terms of assets, land, and energization, then then there's going to be a lot less. Um, there's going to be a lot less uncertainty regarding this stock, and it's going to become clear for investors what the path forward will be. And at which time, I think the mispricing will solve itself. Right now, I do see that we are on that path. I wouldn't be surprised if we got an announcement in the near future. Nevertheless, even without the AI HPC partnership, I think that we are going to witness a really healthy appreciation of BTC's price, and therefore their 50 exahash is going to be printing money for this company, you know, for the foreseeable future. And so that's really the advantage that Iris Energy has. Does have this, multiple potential catalysts on the horizon for it, which should bode well for investors, inshallah. If you like this live, make sure to leave a like. Become a PIF member to follow our moves, trade for trade, if you aren't a PIF member already. Love you all. Take care. Assalamu alaikum. Peace be upon you all.